Tim, a fragile 8-year-old boy, wakes up to the sound of his alarm. His small room is dimly lit by the early morning light creeping through the worn-out curtains. He quickly puts on his old, patched-up clothes and grabs a basket filled with flowers. Tim heads to the busy streets, where he sells flowers to support his ailing mother, who has been bedridden for almost a year. Each morning is the same for Tim, moving from one corner to another, hoping to make enough money to buy medicine for his mother. Despite his tired eyes, there's a determination within him to help her. His routine goes on for hours, but today something different happens. As Tim walks past a crowded park, his eyes meet with a well-dressed woman named Emma. She's a successful businesswoman, always caught up in the fast-paced city life, but something about Tim's innocent face makes her pause. She watches him as he approaches people, offering flowers. No one seems to pay attention to the boy, which makes Emma feel a strange tug at her heart. Tim approaches her, offering a small bunch of flowers with his soft, hopeful voice. "Would you like to buy some flowers, ma'am? They're for my mother, who's very sick." Emma, sensing the boy's sincerity, buys a few flowers and hands him more money than necessary. "Here, young man," she says with a smile. "What's your name?" "Tim," he responds quietly. Emma, still holding the flowers, can't shake the feeling that this boy reminds her of someone from her past. She asks Tim to sit with her on a nearby bench. At first, Tim hesitates. He needs to sell more flowers, but something about Emma's kindness feels comforting. He sits down, and Emma gently probes into his life. Tim opens up, explaining how his mother used to work as a seamstress before she fell ill. Now it's just him taking care of her, and every day is a struggle to make enough money for food and medicine. His father disappeared when he was a baby, and since then, it's been just him and his mom. As Tim tells his story, Emma's heart aches. She had a tough childhood herself, growing up in foster care after a tragic incident separated her from her family. She listens closely, feeling an overwhelming sense of familiarity, but she can't quite figure out why. Tim, noticing her silence, thinks he might have said too much. "I should get going," he says, standing up and grabbing his basket. But Emma isn't ready to let him leave just yet. "Wait," she says, reaching into her purse. "Can I help you in some way? Maybe buy you something to eat?" Tim, though polite, shakes his head. "Thank you, ma'am, but I need to get back home soon. My mom's waiting." Emma feels an urge to do more for Tim, but she doesn't want to overwhelm him. Instead, she watches as he disappears into the crowd, holding his flower basket tightly. The next day, Emma can't get Tim out of her mind. She's curious about his mother and decides to visit the park again in the hopes of seeing him. Sure enough, Tim is there, selling flowers just like the day before. Emma approaches him with a warm smile. "Hi, Tim. Remember me from yesterday?" Tim nods, surprised to see her again. "Yes, ma'am." "Would you mind if I walk with you for a bit?" Emma asks. Tim hesitates, but Emma's presence is calming. "Okay," he says quietly. As they walk through the busy streets, Emma asks more questions about his life. Tim explains how every day he comes to the park hoping to make enough money to pay for his mom's medication. Some days are better than others, but most days he barely earns enough for a meal. Emma can't believe the weight of responsibility on such a young boy's shoulders. She decides to take a more active role in helping Tim. "Tim, why don't you let me buy some more flowers, and maybe I can come meet your mother? I'd like to help." Tim, unsure of what to say, looks at her with a mix of confusion and hope. No one had ever shown him this much kindness before. "You want to meet my mom?" "Yes," Emma says. "I think I can help her. Maybe get her the care she needs." Tim agrees, and the two of them walk towards Tim's small apartment. It's located in a rundown building on the edge of town. As they enter, Emma sees firsthand the struggles Tim and his mother face. The apartment is small, the furniture is worn out, and there's barely any food in the kitchen. Emma feels a lump in her throat as she takes it all in. Tim leads her to the bedroom where his mother, Sarah, lies in bed, pale and weak. Sarah struggles to sit up as she sees Emma enter. "Mom, this is Emma," Tim says. "She wants to help." Emma steps closer, offering a warm smile. "Hello, Sarah. I met Tim while he was selling flowers. He told me a bit about your situation, and I'd like to help in any way I can." Sarah, weak but grateful, tries to speak, but her voice is barely audible. "Thank you, but we don't have much to offer in return." Emma shakes her head. "I'm not here for anything in return. I just want to help you both." As they talk, Emma learns more about Sarah's illness. She realizes that Sarah's condition may be more serious than Tim understands. Emma offers to take Sarah to a doctor she knows, someone who could provide better care. At first, Sarah is hesitant, not wanting to be a burden, but Emma insists, and eventually, Sarah agrees. Later that day, they take Sarah to the doctor, who runs a few tests. The doctor informs them that Sarah's condition is critical but treatable if they act quickly. Emma promises to cover the medical expenses, and for the first time in a long time, Tim feels hope. As they leave the clinic, Emma can't shake the feeling that there's more to this story. Something deeper. She glances at Sarah, trying to place where she's seen her before. But the connection still evades her. As the days go by, Emma becomes more involved in Tim and Sarah's lives. Sarah is undergoing treatment, and while it's a slow recovery, there's hope. Emma often visits, bringing groceries and helping with household chores. Tim, who's grown fond of Emma, now looks forward to her visits. They've become like a little family, and for the first time in a long time, Tim feels a sense of security. One afternoon, as Emma and Tim sit on the apartment balcony, Emma shares a bit about her own childhood. She explains how she grew up in foster care after losing her parents in a tragic accident. "I never knew what happened to them," she says softly. "I always wondered if I had any family out there." Tim listens closely, his eyes filled with curiosity. He's never heard Emma talk about her past before. "Do you think you'll ever find them?" he asks. Emma smiles wistfully. "I don't know, Tim. I've searched for years, but nothing ever came up. I guess some things are meant to stay a mystery." Tim, being the thoughtful boy he is, asks, "What if you're closer than you think?" Emma looks at him, puzzled. "What do you mean?" Tim shrugs. "Maybe your family's not as far away as you think. Maybe they're right here." Emma laughs softly, ruffling Tim's hair. "You're a smart kid, you know that?" But Tim's words stick with her. Over the next few days, Emma can't shake the feeling that there's more to her connection with Tim and Sarah than just coincidence. She starts digging into her past, searching through old records and documents from her time in foster care. Then, one evening, as Emma is going through some old papers, she stumbles upon something that takes her breath away. It's an old hospital record. A birth certificate with a familiar name, Sarah. She quickly scans the document and realizes with a shock that Sarah is her long-lost sister. Heart pounding, Emma can hardly believe what she's reading. How could she have missed this? How could fate have brought her back to the sister she thought she'd lost forever? Emma rushes over to Tim and Sarah's apartment, her mind racing with emotions. When she arrives, Sarah is sitting up in bed, looking stronger than she has in weeks. Tim is by her side, reading a book out loud. Emma stands in the doorway, unable to speak for a moment as she watches them. Finally, Sarah notices her. "Emma, is everything okay?" Emma steps forward, her voice shaky. "Sarah, I need to tell you something. I've been searching for my family for years, and I think I've found them." Sarah looks confused, glancing at Tim, then back at Emma. "What are you talking about?" Emma takes a deep breath and hands Sarah the birth certificate. "I found this. It's your birth certificate, Sarah. You're my sister." The room falls silent. Sarah stares at the paper in disbelief. Tears well up in her eyes as she processes the revelation. "You're my sister?" she whispers. Emma nods, her own eyes filling with tears. I've been looking for you for so long. Tim, who's been listening quietly, suddenly realizes what this means. Does that mean Emma's my aunt? Emma smiles through her tears. Yes, Tim, I'm your aunt. The three of them embrace, overwhelmed by the sudden connection that's been revealed. For so long, Emma had been searching for her family, and it turns out they were right in front of her all along. From that day forward, their bond grows stronger. Emma moves Sarah and Tim into her home, ensuring they have everything they need. Sarah continues to recover, and Tim starts attending school, something he had missed out on while taking care of his mother. The little family, once separated by fate, is now united by love. Emma, Sarah, and Tim have found a sense of belonging and connection that they never thought possible. Together, they face the challenges of life, knowing that no matter what happens, they'll always have each other. And so, the lost connection is finally restored, bringing hope and healing to their lives.